everyone. Can you believe we're almost at the end of the year? As 2025 comes to a close, it's a time for us to step back, take a look at the major milestones and pivotal moments that helped shape BC. Lots has happened this year, from inside the chambers of the legislature in Victoria to the far-reaching communities nestled along our coasts and across our interior. I'm Leanne Young, and this is CBC News BC's annual review, our look at the defining stories of 2025.
This is alleged to be Vikram Sharma, one of two men accused of acting as a Canadian cell for the Bishnoi gang in 2024, charged with arson and firearms offences in relation to two separate incidents. This attack captured on video in the early hours of September 2nd at the Vancouver Island home of Punjabi music star AP Dhillon, and another in Surrey at the home of an extortion victim. Sharma's co-accused, Abhijit Kingra, is in jail serving 6 years after pleading guilty to the incident at Dhillon's home. But Sharma is believed to be in India after fleeing Canada, where he had been living since coming on a student visa in June 2022. We know these details from a bail hearing, which had been under a publication ban that ended with Kingra's sentencing. CBC News has obtained exhibits and court recordings which give new details about these two men, who are among the few people who've actually been publicly identified in the ongoing wave of extortion incidents plaguing communities across Canada. Authorities say they've removed 5 people from the country and initiated nearly 100 investigations into foreign nationals, but little is known about those efforts, so these documents provide a window into how these men came to Canada and how they operate. According to prosecutors, both Sharma and Kingra came to Canada on student visas. Immigration authorities flagged Sharma in the months prior to these attacks after he submitted fraudulent documents in a bid to re-extend his permit. The pair allegedly met in Winnipeg and traveled to the West Coast after being contracted by the Bishnoi gang for the attack on Dhillon. The attack was said to be payback for him for featuring Bollywood actor and Bishnoi target Salman Khan in a music video. Kingra claimed he didn't know anyone would be home at Dhillon's house, but the court heard the singer's roommate woke up to the sounds of Sharma setting 2 cars on fire before Kingra stepped out and fired 14 rounds into the house, filming himself the whole time with a body camera. Footage he uploaded to the internet in the hours after the attack so the Bishnois could take credit. As they fled the scene, this motorcycle officer pulled Sharma's Mercedes over, holding his gun as he ordered them to step out of the car. They pulled away instead, ultimately crashing the Mercedes, catching a cab, and then the 7 a.m. ferry to the Lower Mainland, where they vanished before Sharma flew out of Toronto a month later and Kingra was captured in Barrie. Kingra, who had hoped to get permanent residency, wrote an apology letter that was also entered into this court file. He said he did a horrible and terrifying thing, calling his actions a big mistake that not only scared Dhillon and his family, but the community too. Jason Proctor, CBC News, Vancouver.
Lord, in these moments where we don't have much left, where we feel like every single one of our avenues has been exhausted.
For 10 months, Katie Pasitny and her family have been praying for a way to save their ostriches. In December, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency ordered some 400 birds be destroyed on the farm her mom co-owns after 69 died from the avian flu. Then this happened.
Thank you! Miracle! We're all here to celebrate today.
The Supreme Court of Canada ordered a temporary pause on the cull order while it decides whether or not to hear this case.
We want to test their health. Maybe we should test before we kill. Stamping out is not a one-size-fits-all solution, and it definitely doesn't fit here at Universal Ostrich Farms, and it hasn't fit for 9 months.
The plight of the ostriches has even caught the attention of the Trump administration and raised concerns for BC's Premier David Eby. The CFIA's policy is to stamp out the avian flu, which is also known as the H5N1 strain. If one bird is infected, the entire flock must be killed to prevent the spread of the deadly virus.
If my son got sick, and with some terrible illness that was also contagious, and then he got better and he recovered, and it was observable that he was better and recovered, would we kill the rest of the family? Of course not. Like, it's just illogical.
This case means so much to Daniel Neo that he and his 5-year-old son have been camping out here for days. But some experts say the only way to be sure the ostriches don't have the virus is to kill them, period.
Because the risk that H5N1 presents is so serious, both to animal health, to the safety of the Canadian food supply, to our economy, and to human health, that we don't want to take a chance with H5N1.
That logic doesn't sit well with the farmers or their supporters, who say the policy should be changed. We don't know if the Supreme Court will take on this case or when it will make that decision, but it said it would be fast-tracked. In the meantime, the CFIA has control of this farm and these ostriches. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Edgewood, British Columbia.
The temporary foreign worker program is not working. It should be cancelled or significantly reformed.
It's a rare show of unity between BC's Premier and federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
Liberals have to answer. Why is it that they're shutting our own youth out of jobs?
The temporary foreign worker program allows Canadian employers to use foreign workers to fill temporary jobs when no Canadian workers can be found. Eby says the program is being exploited.
Here in Surrey, where I'm standing right now, serious concerns have been raised about fraud.
One Surrey immigration consultant raised concerns to CBC News about fraudsters selling forged labor market assessments. That's what employers need to hire temporary foreign workers, to prove they tried to find Canadians but couldn't. Eby accuses Ottawa of overseeing a flawed program.
We can't have an immigration system that fills up our homeless shelters and our food banks.
But many BC farms rely on seasonal workers from abroad. One Abbotsford farmer says both Eby and Poilievre have indicated they support some carve-outs for agriculture.
If there was just no foreign workers, an outright ban, it would be highly detrimental.
The Canadian Federation for Independent Business is slamming Eby's position.
Many small businesses, particularly in rural and remote areas, rely on this program to do work that other people simply don't want to do. So by eliminating this program, it would have catastrophic effects.
BC Conservative leader John Rustad says the solution is a Made in BC program, so that sectors that do need foreign workers, like farms and tourism, can still get them.
We need to take control of immigration, of our own immigration in BC, instead of having these decisions being made over 4,000 kilometers away.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government is reviewing the temporary foreign worker program and the immigration system as a whole. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
The province banned the hunting of grizzlies in 2017 to protect what it describes as one of BC's most iconic species. But the BC Wildlife Federation thinks the provincial government should consider lifting the ban.
Over time, we're going to have more and more conflict with bears.
The conservation group advocates for hunters.
I think that it'd be incumbent on the province to start talking to people who actually live with grizzly bears and try to come up with some solutions.
The province, however, says it's not considering it just yet.
Right now, our focus is really on finding the bear that was involved in this attack. This is an ongoing live situation where the bear is still at large and the community doesn't feel safe, and the RCMP and the Conservation Officer Service is working closely to try to locate the bear.
The Grizzly Bear Foundation, which works to conserve the bears, warns against linking the hunting ban with the recent bear attacks.
These are one-off things. You can't use hunting as a management tool and expect it will reduce these attacks.
Officials are also stressing that attacks, like the one on Thursday in Bella Coola, are extremely rare. Jonna Bailon, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC Conservative public safety critic Eleanor Sturko left the official opposition office carrying a box of her things after just having been kicked out of caucus by leader John Rustad. It came just a few hours after John Rustad's leadership was confirmed with a 70% vote in support of his leadership. He had a meeting with Eleanor Sturko around 5 p.m. asking her if she was organizing against him. Eleanor Sturko told the media she rejected those allegations, but she called Rustad a terrible leader and says he should resign. Here's a bit of what she had to say.
Absolutely blindsided, yes. And I can tell you that, if his fear was that I was going to bring forward, questions, for example, saying that there was paper memberships when in fact the report that we saw said there wasn't, things like that. If he was worried about that coming forward, there's other people in that room that will be asking those questions, I'm sure.
Eleanor Sturko held her press conference about half an hour before BC Conservative caucus members were meeting in the legislature. She says she expects other MLAs to bring up their opposition to Rustad's leadership.
You know, whether the caucus ultimately accepts those results or not, it's really, you know, it's difficult to believe someone who's told lie after lie, particularly to his own caucus.
Before that caucus meeting, we talked to MLA Brennan Day.
That's definitely a short-sighted move.
Do you support Rustad's leadership?
Again, I'll have to let you know after the meeting.
And he says if Rustad wants to grow the party, kicking out Eleanor Sturko was a major mistake. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria. Happy New Year. 24 BC Conservative MLAs jubilant, standing behind their new interim leader.
I'm feeling very, very united.
That show of unity coming shortly after this.
I'm stepping down as the leader of the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
A major about-face 24 hours after Rustad insisted he would stay on as leader, despite a letter from 20 MLAs saying they wanted him to go, and an announcement from the party board that Trevor Halford had been selected to replace him. So what changed? Rustad said his wife and key supporters urged him to keep fighting.
But in order to do that would be the creation of a civil war.
Rustad says he will stay on as Conservative MLA for Nechako Lakes and says he'll throw his support behind whoever is selected to succeed him. He will not run in the next election. Despite previously blaming Rustad for the chaos surrounding the party, Premier David Eby wished him well on social media. BC Conservative Party president says there will be a leadership race, and she's hoping the next leader will be chosen in the next 6 months.
Giving our members a chance to vote on a leader is going to make everyone feel like their voices have been heard, and that the fracturing that we've seen, like, this is the only way to remedy those fractures that we've already seen.
The tumult within the official opposition has been going on since March. Here's a quick timeline. Rustad expelled Dallas Brody. Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley left in solidarity. Brody and Armstrong have formed their own party called 1BC. In September, after surviving a leadership review with 70% support, Rustad kicked out Eleanor Sturko. Amelia Boltby left the caucus shortly after.
I've said from the start that I would return if they had a new leader, and if I was invited back, they may not invite me back.
Halford says he's taking on the interim role because he does not plan to seek the leadership. So who is in the running? Rumored contenders include MLAs Peter Millibar, Eleanor Sturko, Gavin Dew, and Harman Bangu, but none have officially confirmed that. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
The water rose up and flooded the whole farm there.
Staff and volunteers with Archway's urban farm in Abbotsford have worked countless hours to grow this garden, now waterlogged, to help feed some of the city's most vulnerable.
We're all kind of heartbroken.
She says these floodwaters have drowned their plans to grow 2,500 servings of produce for the organization's food bank. And it's not the first time. They were also wiped out by the historic floods here in 2021.
What do you think makes you the most emotional when you think about this? Oh, just how hard we're working to try to ensure people have access to food. And yeah, just as a real knowing the suffering in our community, like people are hard hit already. And now to add this layer of the flood.
The intense and persistent rains reactivating Abbotsford's Disaster Relief Fund, a community program that was created following the floods 4 years ago to help those hardest hit.
And I got to meet with some of the families who had received Abbotsford disaster relief money. And they said, you know what? Yours were the only funds we saw to help us rebuild. We didn't have any money from government. We didn't have insurance money.
It comes a day after Abbotsford's mayor blasted the federal government, saying not enough mitigation work was done since the 2021 floods. Here, days after the skies opened up, search and rescue crews are still busy.
We have responded to
about a dozen or more rescues of people that did not heed the warnings to leave the area. So their residences got surrounded by floodwaters and they weren't able to leave their residences.
We do have cauliflower still growing here. I don't know how viable that is anymore.
Back at the farm, staff continue to assess the damage, waiting and hoping the next storm set for Sunday doesn't wash away the rest of the farm and with it food security for the community. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Abbotsford.
8-year-old Gandam is being remembered as kind and gentle.
Gandam had a beautiful way about her, and she had a beautiful soul.
Family members and dozens of supporters came together in Squamish for her funeral.
A lot of people coming from Iran and Brazil.
Gandam was visiting her father's condo in Vancouver on November 11th when she fell from a balcony.
Gandam was full of life, and I can't imagine she's gone. Like, it's very heartbreaking.
Her mother, Masa Hadiadzada, is well known in Squamish, working as the director at Willow Brae Child Care Academy.
Masa is a wonderful mother, absolutely wonderful. And her daughter, Gandam, was the center of her universe. And I just know how happy they were together.
Gandam's mother had remarried and is pregnant.
And I know Gandam was very much looking forward to being a big sister.
Gandam was a child others looked up to, and she loved to make bracelets for people.
She had a very special bond with younger children, and what we heard that she had amazing friendships in her school in Squamish, and her friends where she was before, Vancouver school, they are devastated.
She adored Persian music, art, and popcorn.
She was like humming and singing, and they would be always surprised like how she's learning the lyrics and all of that.
Vancouver police are still investigating, as they do for all sudden deaths.
We believe we do understand what transpired, and we have a clear picture of what transpired, but we're going to share our findings with her family before we share them publicly.
Gandam's mother is now leaning on those around her for support.
It's going to be a very, very tough journey ahead, and we're there for her.
This community showed up in person and also online. 615 people donated more than $41,000 to support this family. Alana Kelly, CBC News, Squamish.
A group of tenants were threatened by their landlord to be kicked out of their building for talking to each other on Facebook. The tenants live here at the Yarrow apartment on the corner of Kootenay and Hastings Streets in East Vancouver. Tenants describe feeling shaken after finding this letter taped to their doors. It went out to people belonging to a private Facebook group called the Yarrow Residential Hub. Tenants say the Facebook group is a place where people meet their neighbors, sell items, and talk about maintenance concerns. They also say RealStar Group, the Toronto-based company that bought the building in May, somehow gained access to the Facebook group and has been surveilling it. The RealStar letter accuses tenants of breaching their tenancy agreements and the Residential Tenancy Act for getting other tenants to make complaints. It also suggests some are spreading libelous statements about RealStar. So, can a landlord really kick people out for this?
The landlord can't bring them to the RTB and try to evict them just for talking to each other, just for having this Facebook group. But the landlord has clearly stated that they're trying to antagonize these tenants, that they will seek to retaliate against these tenants just for talking to each other. So this could be the first step in a long line of retaliatory actions from the landlord.
Javadi told us there is nothing in BC law to stop tenants from talking together or acting collectively, but points out that tenant unions don't usually have the same rights as, say, a labor union. We also spoke to a lawyer with a tenant rights nonprofit who said landlords sometimes oppose collective efforts.
I think oftentimes landlords get concerned when tenants in their buildings start to work together to collaboratively solve problems with the building. Sometimes that results in landlords trying to prevent that collaboration.
RealStar said this in a statement. Our goal is to foster respectful, open dialogue with residents, while also ensuring that our staff can work in a safe and respectful environment. The Yarrow tenants did not want to go on the record for this story. After hearing from CBC, Real Star sent us a second statement stating it had apologized to the tenants for the letter. Karen Larson, CBC News, Vancouver.
It takes your breath away. A split-second near miss on the Sea to Sky Highway.
Definitely the scariest near miss I've had being a driver or a passenger.
Watch again. The driver leaves their lane, passing the yellow double-hatched lines.
By instinct, swerved to the right. Luckily, I didn't have a car next to me.
He considers himself lucky to be alive.
Honestly, half a second slower, faster, the outcome is probably a lot different.
New temporary lines were painted on the highway for paving, causing confusion and concern.
It definitely could be something that makes it really, really dangerous.
He's not the only one who had a near miss. 2 other people had experiences here and here, only 7 kilometers apart.
I honestly thought I was going to die.
As she drove around a corner, a pickup truck was in her lane coming towards her.
My tires actually came up a bit, which was really scary because we're going pretty fast. It's on a highway. Luckily, I was able to get over it, but it was one of the scariest experiences.
A week later, in the same area, it happened again.
They headed towards me in my lane southbound, and had I not been in the far right-hand lane and been staying in that passing lane, I would have been hit head-on at full speed.
She blames the drivers.
Oh my God. It is marked though, so I think it's really driver inattentiveness and just disrespect or blatant disregard for what the rules are.
BC Highway Patrol is not aware of any collisions connected to the hatched double yellow lines. And as you can see behind me, pylons have now been placed on the highway. In an email statement, the Ministry of Transportation and Transit says safety is a top priority and the temporary lines meet the contract requirements. After hearing public feedback, changes were made, such as digital and road signs stating no passing, along with reduced speeds and cones.
I would really hope that there is a quicker response to, safety concerns on the Sea to Sky.
These drivers hope their experiences can be a warning to others to take care on the road. Alana Kelly, CBC News, Squamish.
A multi-billion-dollar project shrouded in controversy. The builders behind it are officially ordered to pay up. Construction giant Ellis Don has been ordered to pay WorkSafe BC about $1.3 million for crane safety violations. The violations date back to February 2024. That's when a crane lost its load, dropping a fly table on top of worker Eurydia Flores, a mother of 2 from Mexico. WorkSafe BC fined Ellis Don more than $500,000 following an investigation, which found the firm failed to ensure safety inspections were done and failed to protect workers from danger. A subcontractor, New Way Concrete Forming, was also fined an additional $100,000.
No amount of money will bring comfort or bring Eurydia Flores back.
Vancouver City Councillor Pete Fry hopes the fines lead to safer working conditions at one of the biggest construction projects in the city's history.
It's a large site, but that shouldn't mean that safety and workers' rights are kind of taking a backseat to that.
Meanwhile, Ellis Don was also fined another $600,000 for crane violations at this construction site in Victoria. Earlier this year, a crane lost its load, dropping steel canopy pieces to the ground. No one was injured. Amid mounting safety concerns, BC's Labour Minister has pledged to fill regulatory gaps. A crane safety working group was established earlier this year.
I'm expecting that in the early part of the new year, we will have the results of their recommendations.
In a statement, Ellis Don said it's reviewing the fines. Meanwhile, WorkSafe BC says 2 more investigations into safety violations at the Oak Ridge site are ongoing, meaning more penalties could be on the way. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
A BC Ferry's vessel may have hit a humpback whale in northern BC Wednesday night. BC Ferry said in a statement one of its vessels believes it made contact with the whale in the Right Sound. That's about 130 kilometers southeast of Prince Rupert. It said the incident was reported to Fisheries and Oceans Canada, as well as local First Nations and marine researchers. A researcher from nonprofit BC Whales found a dead humpback the next morning near where the vessel reported it may have hit the whale. The whale has been tied to shore for now. The DFO says it will investigate and conduct a necropsy in the following days.
Across this fence is Lynn Creek, where a woman in her 50s, a tourist from the U.S., fell 30 meters from a cliffside into the canyon. This all happened Monday afternoon at around 12:30 p.m. Emergency crews responded with multiple units to perform technical rope rescues, and a helicopter was needed to airlift the woman out. Now, the woman was part of a tour group visiting the area with a guide. Fire officials say that the terrain can get tricky here in the park, especially when it rains, but it is very safe if you stay in bounds, which they said the woman involved did not do.
The area where the person was located, where a rescue was accessed, was an area that was past the fencing area. So it was off the trail system. A fall of 30 meters onto rocks is a very significant injury and potential for fatality. For someone to survive that, I would say there's a hint of luck that is involved in that.
Fire officials say the woman had a compound fracture in one of her legs, a head injury from the fall, and in general, she was in pretty rough shape. Now, she was taken to hospital with serious injuries, but is expected to survive. Police now are asking for witnesses and video of the incident to piece together what led up to the fall. Now, when we asked them if there was any criminality involved here, police said that if they were looking into anything, it would be criminal negligence, but that is on the very extreme end of what they're expecting to find. And police are also saying that incidents like these in the park are not common.
Every year we do get tragedies, sadly. People fallen, or usually it's jumping into the pool there. Not so often where it happens where somebody has fallen off, by, I guess, either slip in or by accident.
Officials are warning people to stay in bounds and says fencing is there for a reason. Jessica Chung, CBC News, North Vancouver.
The fifth day of the strike by public sector workers in BC. Members of the BC General Employees Union are ramping up their job action, spanning picket lines across the province starting Tuesday.
Over 1,000 more members of the BC General Employees Union are expected to join picket lines in locations including Nanaimo, Kamloops, Williams Lake, Kelowna, Cranbrook, Nelson, Fort St. John, and Smithers. The union has been fighting for higher wages that keep up with the rising cost of living.
Workers in this province are falling behind. Public servants in this province are falling behind by every measure. That's not acceptable. It stops here. We're standing strong, and we're going to be here as long as it takes.
The union represents about 34,000 workers in sectors like healthcare, social services, wildfire fighting, courts, prisons, and liquor stores. The BC government has said essential services like healthcare and wildfire fighting are not affected. Finch says while they won't share their strike strategy, the job action has focused on core government workers so far to minimize disruption to the public as much as possible. But, he says, that could change if the province does not return to the bargaining table with a better offer.
Last week, Premier David Eby said they're looking for a deal that's not only fair to workers, but also to British Columbians. Union leaders here say that it's not about picking between workers and the economy, as workers are the economic engine of the province. Jonna Bailon, CBC News, Surrey.
The families used to live along the Nass River. Their poles, their story, their beings were in front of the longhouses of the family.
A delegation of Nisga'a people from Lac Lazare in northern BC was at the UBC Museum of Anthropology this month to bless one of its own. A carved wooden pole that was taken from a family more than a century ago is now being returned.
When anything of value is being moved and is sacred, we would bless, and having the blessing really helped out. Not only the pole, but it also helped the family.
The pole will make the journey to Lac Les Apes in late September. The blessing includes wiping the pole and its metal encasing down with cedar boughs. It ensures it safely reaches its home.
It's important to the family because it reminds us, and it'll be a constant reminder of where we came from, who we are.
The Haldanes are the descendants of the family the pole was taken from. The previous Samogat, which is the Nisga'a word for chief, was Hubert Haldane, and his Nisga'a name was La. Moore says Haldane saw the pole 2.5 years ago in a museum exhibit. After embracing it, he said it needed to return home now. Talk started, but he died before he could see his plans accomplished. His title and name passed to his younger brother Bruce, who is finishing what was started. Moore says carved poles aren't just pieces of wood. They tell your family story, so they're part of your family and are living beings. When the pole was blessed, it was the first time in over a century it heard the language and songs of home. And that's when it awakened.
As the pole was being blessed, I was standing beside it, as well as Smogat La. And I looked down, and I thought it was a hallucination or something, but it appeared that the pole was breathing, just similar to a human being, with the stomach raised and lowered as it breathed. And the power that it appeared to have had, and not only I, but a number of other people that were in at the time felt the presence.
Wamish Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
It's known as the world's biggest congregation of bald eagles, happening right here on the banks of the Harrison River. Thousands flock to gorge on salmon that have reached the spawning ground, and this year there's an abundance to feast on.
Along our coast here and along our rivers, particularly the Fraser, the big salmon runs are happening now, and the Fraser, the Harrison River, the Squamish in particular, have very, very good runs, and there's big numbers of salmon. In this particular time of year,
the area is renowned for its ecological riches.
The Harrison is the major river for spawning salmon in all of Canada, and it's the only salmon stronghold. A really productive river, one that has clean river waters, almost no pollution, and we don't overharvest. It has huge spawning resources of all the species of salmon.
Longtime bald eagle expert David Hancock estimates anywhere from 35,000 to 50,000 eagles make their way through Harrison every year, mostly feeding on salmon and ducks if salmon becomes scarce. As rivers in Yukon, Alaska, and northern BC ice up, food supplies freeze too, forcing the eagles to come south. Experts say a big congregation like this shows how the predators have made a comeback over time.
we had very few eagles because of contamination from DDT and from persecution back to the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. And then the numbers started to come back because people stopped persecuting them and stopped poisoning them.
The migration also piquing the interest of visitors like Dan Woodstra.
It was incredible. I don't think I've seen eagles gather like that ever anywhere else. So it was really cool. Magical, really. Yeah, to see such a creature in its element doing its thing.
The eagles settled among the trees and riverbanks, a seasonal sight, before most are expected to depart again in February. Beneath Brach, CBC News, Harrison Mills.
Starting next April, you won't be able to find these for sale in Tofino. The municipality has approved a bylaw banning the sale of single-use plastic water bottles. Mayor Dan Law says they have long been winding up on beaches along the coast.
Water bottles of this nature are perhaps the most found item on the beaches and the oceans.
The ban applies to plastic water bottles that are 1 liter in size or smaller. However, bottles sold in a flat are exempt, and the ban will not be in effect during emergencies such as earthquakes, evacuations, or drought. Although the ban won't be mandated until next year, many local businesses in Tofino have already made the switch.
The businesses have been able to take the time to go through their operations and make sure that they are accommodating.
Hackett says both businesses and the municipality have started investing in water fountains and reusable bottles, as well as working on educating locals and visitors.
They rely on this amazing place that we all live and work. And so to protect the oceans, the beaches, the rainforest, it is important to make sure that we're being proactive and doing everything that we can to keep this a pristine place to visit.
Other cities like Vancouver and Toronto have prohibited the sale of plastic water bottles in city-owned facilities, but Tofino is the first in Canada to introduce an outright ban.
We're in an age where people are finally realizing that plastic waste has a tremendous negative effect in many, many ways. And we're starting to take responsibility for what we do and what we use, and this is a start.
It's the most recent single-use plastic ban from a town that has already outlawed plastic bags, straws, utensils, and polystyrene foam containers. The mayor says he's hoping other municipalities will follow suit. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
You're really arresting them for driving a kid's Jeep?
That's right. On Friday, a Prince George man was pulled over and arrested right here after he was seen driving a child-sized pink Barbie Jeep down this busy road.
I just want to get a Slurpee. I got lazy. I didn't want to walk.
Now, Casper Lincoln says he was using the sidewalk until he came to a closed lane, and after that, he turned right. And that's when he was pulled over, prompting disbelief and a few memes. But lawyer Kyla Lee says driving any car without a license and insurance, even a toy one, is against the law.
The law is very clear. Toy cars constitute motor vehicles if they are powered by some sort of an engine. Nobody wants to hit somebody in a Barbie car, and drivers aren't looking for Barbie cars in the roadway. So it is a serious safety issue.
Police say they also found the driver had a suspended license and later blew over the legal blood alcohol limit, which is why he was taken in. Lincoln doesn't deny these charges, but says he had no idea he was breaking the law.
I only going like 3 clicks. Because I did my hand signals and everything.
But he's taking it all in stride.
Model number, Barbie Jeep, color pink.
Andrew Criata, CBC News, Prince George.
Vancouver, John Hendry Park, 5 o'clock.
I was not aware of the pop-up concert until we saw the rush of people at the park. Our kids were playing in the backyard. We were all in the backyard, and this very polite, lovely man came to our gate and asked very nicely if his friend could use the bathroom. His tour van was parked just in our back lane. After he asked if his friend could use the bathroom, we said yes, and the friend turned out to be Daniel Caesar. So we let him in, and he came in with his videographer, and he introduced himself very nicely and said his name was Daniel. And then I said, feel free to use our bathroom. And I was like, would you like a glass of water? And he accepted. He was super engaging with our kids. He asked what their ages were. I told my kids, just so we're clear, that is not something that will happen ever again. We're not going to have a famous person in our backyard again. So take that for what it is and take it all in. And then he sat here for 10 or 15 minutes and talked to us and the kids about his tour and music and his family. And he was down to earth, super genuine, really just lovely and gracious and kind. He asked them tons of questions. So yeah, it was a really great afternoon.
Lizards are an increasingly common sight in backyards in and around Victoria. The European wall lizard is an invasive species, but they're breeding here, well, like bunnies. More and more of the lizards have been spotted this year, but they actually have a longer history. They were first brought here in the 1960s by a local resident who owned a small, private, exotic animal farm in rural Saanich, just outside Victoria. They were later released into the wild when the business closed, but local residents started finding them in their backyards in the 1970s. Since then, their population has boomed. There are now hundreds of thousands, maybe more. When I moved here 11 years ago, I never saw any of them, but now my backyard is crawling with them. So I headed up to Saanich to talk to Richard Hebda, who was curator of botany and earth history at the Royal BC Museum for decades. He lives close to where those lizards were first released, and he found them in his garden in the 1980s after he built a freestanding rock wall.
Which are perfect to hide if you're a lizard. We ended up creating a resort condominium for wall lizards. Even in January and February, they'd be out sunning themselves. They're all over the place.
Since then, Richard has noticed the lizards have adapted to our local changing ecosystem. They're migrating from the rocks up into the vegetation like the trees. I've found the same thing. One of them fell out of a tree on me the other day here in my backyard. But Richard says it's more than just a curiosity or cute animal story. The lizards are spreading all over Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands, and it's a sad reflection of the two biggest environmental challenges of our time.
One of the issues is climate change, so we're changing everything. The other issue is biodiversity loss. And one of the transformative processes is the movement of species around the globe to places where they didn't grow. A new lizard, who knows what it's doing to our native, rich, ancient biological diversity, of which we must be the stewards. And as it explodes, its impact is going to be greater and greater. So we must be concerned and maybe learn as much as we can from it.
Jackie McGregor has a menagerie of different pets and animals on this Kamloops hobby farm. But Jenny the Henny is front and center this Thanksgiving weekend.
This is Jenny the Henny. She is our female turkey who has adopted 7 chickens.
Sadly for Jenny, it got so hot in Kamloops this summer that none of her eggs hatched. So she was left despondent with no clutch of eggs to sit on.
We've had Jenny for a couple of years. She hatched here on the farm. She went broody for the first time this summer.
What does broody mean?
It basically means that Jenny was preparing to be a mama turkey, that she was laying a clutch of eggs herself, and she was preparing to sit on them to hatch turkey poults in the summer.
Jenny started to steal chicken eggs from other birds on the farm, hoping to adopt. That hatched an idea that got the McGregor family cracking. They teamed up with a local school, hatching chicks in the classroom, and borrowed some little peepers for Jenny to nurture.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, we snuck into the coop while Jenny was sleeping, and my very brave husband, Tyler, took on the job of swapping the chicken eggs for the chicks. And as soon as she heard them peeping, she became delighted. She started cooing and fluffing her feathers that her purpose had been realized, and she was so excited that her babies had arrived.
This coming weekend, people all over BC will be celebrating the Thanksgiving weekend with a turkey on the table. But you could say Jenny will be safe from the roasting pan.
When the plan for Jenny wasn't looking ideal, we had entertained the thought of having her invited to our Thanksgiving dinner, but these chicks have saved her from the Thanksgiving table. Oh, there's the babies coming out. Jenny will probably go on to hatch another clutch of eggs. Hopefully it will be more successful for her next year, but she will produce more turkeys for us next year. She's so happy that she is just in her element. She is cooing after her babies and just fussing over them as any new mom would.
Shelley Joyce, CBC News, Kamloops.
Not surprised. Sad, because he's been a great player for us, but he deserved a better team.
You did not want to talk to me last night because I was dropping lots of
bad words and everything.
You have such a great talent, and he was just wasted.
Frustrated, disappointed, a setback. Not unfamiliar terms for Canucks fans, but now they're really feeling it. After learning the team traded their captain, Quinn Hughes, the franchise leader in points and assists by a defenseman and maybe the best player in Canucks history. After a promising playoff run 2 years ago, Vancouver missed the postseason last year and currently sit in last place in the NHL. Canucks general manager Patrick Allvin says Hughes, who was set to become a free agent after next season, wouldn't commit to the team long term, so they traded him now to get the best return.
We were trying to do everything to convince him to stay and work through it. It's definitely tough to lose your captain and lose Quinn Hughes, and no doubt about it. Saying that, I think we have a lot of younger players coming in here.
The 26-year-old former Norris Trophy winner is on his way to the Minnesota Wild, who are quite happy with the deal.
It was a good night last night. Bringing a player like Quinn Hughes here, you just don't get these opportunities all that often.
Coming back to Vancouver, a trio of former first-round picks, Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, and Zeev Buyum, plus a first-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft.
We've got young guys here in this trade. You know, we've been doing a lot of great things. It's hard to talk about it when the winds aren't following it right now, but there's been a lot of really good things happen playing fast hockey.
Very grateful for that opportunity, and you know, I think it's my job to show them that it's the right decision, and you know, to just play my best.
Yeah, a lot of speed, physicality, and try to use my strength and my shot.
Some optimism around what the Canucks are now calling a rebuild. Just a few short years after such a promising outlook. Corey Correa, CBC News, Vancouver.
I am here because Pamela is our light for today, and I was called her lookalike the other week, and I thought I have to honor that, and so I showed up, and now I'm ready also for Halloween.
Okay, well, first I love Pam. She's iconic. She's Canadian, and she was discovered here. So it's pretty much a marketing masterpiece.
I had 3 different people send me this contest flyer, and I've been here for Halloween twice. So I was like, I guess it works out.
Well, I saw the Instagram post of it, and honestly, people have told me my whole life I look like Pamela, and I love her and her personality. I think she's sexy but natural, and I love all of her looks.
I will use every ounce of razzle and dazzle I have in my body.
I committed. I mean, I got a hair and makeup artist for the outfit, so I feel like they could be good, but I'm honestly just happy to be here.
And I think that just being yourself and being natural and beautiful is all you need. I will embrace who I am and just have fun.
I mean, she's an icon. I think the whole world can agree that Pamela, through the decades, is an absolute icon, and I love what she's doing for the body positivity movement. And my friends and I thought, why should this be a girls' game only, you know? Guys should also sign up.
Tickets are on sale now for the Harry Potter Forbidden Forest experience at the site of Vancouver's Stanley Park train. Now, organizers are promising magical creatures, wizarding wonders, all set in a forested walk scenario. And while it might be an enchanted evening out for the family in the wintertime, will this event cast a spell of Cashiosum Disapiro on your wallet? Let's see how much this thing costs. Let's say I'm going to take a family of 4 to this event. Okay, 8:45 is open. We'll get the Family Deluxe Bundle. That's 4 tickets. Okay, so that's $586 on its own. We're going to get parking as well, another $30. And of course the kids are going to want illuminating wand add-ons, and 2 of those, that's another $150. So let's see what this is going to do. $833. Now compare that to the Bright Nights event that used to be held in the park at this time of year. Just $16 for an adult ticket and $12 for a child. Some on social media had words for the prices, including curses, not the magic kind. And on the streets,
that sounds like a lot of money. It's pretty expensive.
Christmas one was better and more affordable.
The ABC Civic Party platform, which a majority of park board commissioners were elected under in 2022, promised to make it easier for events, performers, and sports organizations to use parks and recreation facilities. This event has been held in a number of cities globally to a variety of reactions. So, will fans shell out here?
The franchise in general is like huge.
This academic who studies fandoms points to the incredible draw Harry Potter holds over generations of fans.
Like apart from their permanent space in like Florida, then people actually fly to Florida. This is why I think they're confident about pricing it that way.
We'll see if fans are charmed enough to spend their golden galleons when the event kicks off in November. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
And that brings our review of 2025 to a close. What's clear is that British Columbia will never fall short of compelling stories led by remarkable citizens. From all of us here at CBC News BC, thank you for making us a part of your year. I'm Leanne Young. Thanks for watching.